For our video today, we're going to take a look at volume of both prisms and pyramids in this video. So we're going to just start taking a look at prisms, and I want to make sure that we understand what a prism is. So a prism basically is when you have a shape like a rectangle or a triangle or a trapezoid or something like that, and you have the exact same shape directly across from the other one. And then wrapped around those shapes are a bunch of rectangles. So if you think about like a box that you would send something in, or like a box of tissues, something like that, you have a rectangle in the front, you have a rectangle in the back, and then it's wrapped around, those two rectangles are wrapped around with a bunch of other rectangles. If you think about a triangular prism, I usually think about like one of those Toblerone candies where you have a triangle in the front, triangle in the back, and then those two triangles are wrapped with rectangles all the way around. So those are prisms. Pyramids have a base that is a certain shape, like a rectangle or a triangle or whatever, and they have a height that comes up to a point. So the Great Pyramids that you learned about probably in history or social studies, those are pyramids. They come to a point. So let's look at how to find volume of prisms and pyramids. So the first one that we're going to look at is a rectangular prism. And with a rectangular prism, what you want to do is find the volume of the base and then multiply by the height. Your formula sheet that you get on the Regents exam always gives you the same formula for every single prism. It's volume of the base times the height. All right, and I always call this B, I call this big belly B, because we have to put something in there. We have to replace it. We have to put something in its belly. So I have to replace that base with the area formula of whatever I have on my shape's base. So in this case, it looks like the base of this rectangular prism is a rectangle. So I'm going to use that as my base. So that's length times width, and then I'm going to multiply by the height. So to find the volume of this thing, I'm going to multiply 9 times 5 times 4. And when I multiply 9 times 5 times 4, I get my volume, which is 180. And whenever we're talking about volume, our units are always going to be cubed because it's a three-dimensional figure, we're filling it. So 180 centimeters cubed. All right, so you can try the other one. And we're going to move on to a triangular prism. Triangular prism, we have two triangles across from each other. Those are our bases, and then it's wrapped up with a bunch of rectangles. So again, from your Regents formula sheet, we have area of the base times the height. And again, I always write it as a big belly. In that big belly, I have a triangle as my base, and so area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So volume of a triangular prism is 1/2 base times height, that's the triangle, and then we multiply by the height, which is how far apart the triangles are. So I'm going to call this right here my base, and on that triangle, the base is 10, and the height of it actually isn't given on that triangle, it's given back here. The height of that triangle is 5. And then the height of the prism is how far apart those two triangles are, and they're 14 centimeters apart. And so now I just have to multiply 10 times 5 times 14, and then take half of that. So when I multiply 10 times 5 times 14, I get 700, and when I take half of that, I end up with 350. Oops. So my volume is 350 centimeters, and again, that's cubed. All right, so again, try the next one on your own. And then we're going to take a look at a trapezoidal prism. Trapezoidal prism is a prism where you have the base that is a trapezoid. So here we have a trapezoid across from a trapezoid, and it's wrapped up in a bunch of rectangles. So again, from our formula sheet, we get area of the base times the height. But a trapezoid, area of a trapezoid is 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. So I'm going to fill that belly of that B with my area formula. So my formula is 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2, and that's for the trapezoid. And then I multiply by the height, which is how far apart the trapezoids are. So with this one, I'm going to call, doesn't matter, but I'll call this one my base. That's my trapezoid. So the height of that trapezoid is 2 centimeters. And the bases are 7 and 4. So I add those together. And then the trapezoids are 7 centimeters apart, so that's my height. So in the end, I'm going to do 1/2 times 2 times 4 plus 7, and then times another 7, and I end up getting 77 centimeters cubed for the volume of that trapezoid. All right, and then there's another one for you to go ahead and try. We're now going to switch to pyramids. Remember, pyramids have a base, and then they end up coming up to a point on the top or somewhere. So first one we're going to look at is a rectangular prism. On your formula sheet, the formula that you get for volume of a pyramid is 1/3 area of the base times the height. So again, we have that big capital B, that big belly B, and so I can go ahead and put my area formula of the base inside of that B. So the base of my pyramid this time is a rectangle, so that's length times width. So my formula is really 1/3 length times width times height. And now my length and my width on my rectangle are 7 times 3. And the height of my pyramid is 8 centimeters. So this time I'm going to multiply 1/3 times 7 times 3 times 8, and I end up getting 56 centimeters cubed for the volume of that pyramid. And again, there's one for you to try. All right, last one we're going to look at is a triangular pyramid. This is when the base is a triangle and it comes up to a point. So with this one, again, volume of any pyramid on our formula sheet is 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. But the base is a triangle, so area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So this one's a little weird. We get 1/3 times 1/2 base times height times the height of the pyramid. My base is this down here, that's my triangle. So that's 1/3 times the area of that triangle, which is 1/2 4 times 6. And then the height of the pyramid is how tall it is. In this case, it's 7 centimeters. So I'm going to multiply 1/3 by 1/2 by 4 by 6 by 7. And in the end, I get 28 centimeters cubed. And again, there's one for you to go ahead and try.